All right, we officially have our first team through to the knockout stage and at the same time our first team out of the Euros. So Norway are officially through to the quarterfinals and Iceland are officially out. I'm quite disappointed in Iceland because I really did think they were going to do better in this tournament than they have. They've got a pretty decent squad, like not just Vigosar, they've also got I think they got the Serie A's best goalkeeper or the one who won the Golden Glove. So it's an okay team. They're ranked 13th in the world. They were the second highest ranked team going into this group. So really, Iceland had a lot of reason to be hopeful about their chances of progression. In a group as easy as this, even when you are up against a host, even when you are down to 10 women in your first match, to put up the performances they've had where they haven't even scored a goal, I think is disappointing. I did think Iceland were going to do more, and what that means actually is that since 2013, they have not won a match at the Euros. They were quarterfinalists in 2013, and since then they have not won any games. They've drawn a lot, but not won any at the Euros. So that's pretty disappointing for Iceland, and they have the squad that you would think they could maybe do a bit better. So Iceland's out, and Norway through. Norway are winning games now. They've not been entirely convincing in either of the games they've won. What's interesting with Norway is when you listen to the pundits talk about Norway, like I'm in England, so I'm seeing all of the talks around other teams through an English perspective. So these are commentators who probably don't really have too much of a strong feeling either way about Norway, and they legitimately seem upset and annoyed with Norway for not being better because Norway has a really, really strong squad. Players who have won the Ballon d'Or or finished very high in the Ballon d'Or rankings, Champions League winners. It's a nation that has a very strong pedigree and history in women's football, where they've even actually won the World Cup. So there's a lot of reasons to think Norway should be at a very high level. And when you look at their current squad, you'd think that they should be challenging with the very best. And maybe to say they should win the Euros is too high an expectation, but to say that they should win this group pretty easily is not. And so even though they've won, there's still some disappointment. I think it's actually quite fitting that the goal they got to win the game against Finland was a failed cross. And I don't really see any way that was intentional. And sometimes they do score goals like that, but I do think that was a bad cross that happened to find its way into the goal rather than an intentional effort to get into the net. And that's quite fitting of Norway, given how their performances have been so far, that they kind of win in spite of themselves rather than being an all conquering force that they could be. So Norway's through now, not officially in first, and I wouldn't actually entirely be surprised if Iceland caused them some problems and maybe even won that game, because I do think that Iceland are better than their performances have shown. And now that they haven't scored a single goal, now that they're out and have nothing to lose, maybe they'll get to show themselves a bit better against Norway. So I do think there's a chance they win that game, though I guess Norway now, with the performances so far, would still be favorites in that match. But what that leaves us with, on the other hand, is Finland versus Switzerland. And this is going to be the more exciting game because group stage progression is on the line for these two. Both of them on 3 points, having beaten Iceland whilst losing to Norway. So, because of that, even though they're both on 3 points and Iceland is on zero, because they're both playing each other, someone has to get points. That's why Iceland's out. That's also why Norway's through, because they can't both get 6 points. So one of them's going out, one of them's going through. And Switzerland, with that second goal against Iceland, was that second goal was massive, because what that means now is that they have a goal difference advantage over Finland, to where if they draw, it would be Switzerland going through. So with the home crowd behind them only needing a draw, I do favor Switzerland in that situation, even though they have a bit less history than Finland and perhaps less experience in these situations. I mean, Finland hasn't been that great in Euros either, but I think they've been to most of the last Euros and in general have more pedigree than Switzerland. But because Switzerland are the hosts, and hosts always seem to overperform, I think that I do favor Switzerland in that scenario. And it is possible that you could even win the group with a win for Finland and Switzerland, because there's still a chance Norway do lose that game, even though they're through, they're not through in first. And winning the group would be pretty big, because the winner of the group very likely avoids Spain. And right now, I don't think anyone wants to play Spain. They started off their tournament by slapping up Portugal, and I doubt that's going to slow down anytime soon. So finishing first would be a good thing and probably give you a better shot at the semifinals than if you finish second. But I think Switzerland and Finland will both mainly just be thinking about getting through for the time being. And in that match, I think Switzerland probably have the advantage.